This week in your Weekend Sentinel, Peru votes, Colombia strains, and the Andean Legitimacy test. Hello and welcome to Weekend Sentinel for Latin America Risk Sentinel. Thanks for being with me today. Latin America Risk Sentinel at latinamericarisksentinel.com helps you turn risk into opportunity. I'm Wayne Trevette II, your Latin American Regional Specialist. Be sure to start your day with the Morning Latam Signal email for the one big story you can't afford to miss. Simply visit bit.ly/daily and the letter B to get started. This is your weekend readout before Monday morning. This week, the signal comes from the Andes. Peru votes this Sunday. Colombia heads toward a June 21st runoff, and in both countries, the deeper issue is not only who wins. The deeper issue is whether the political systems can produce authority that citizens, markets, and institutions can accept. That is the business intelligence takeaway. Legitimacy, security, and governability are on the line. Signal 1. Peru's vote is a legitimacy test. Peru's second-round vote arrives with the country's political system under pressure. Keiko Fujimori was asked by La Repubblica whether she would accept a possible defeat. She did not give a clear yes. She answered, "We will see." That matters because Peru still carries a memory of 2021 when Fujimori alleged fraud without proving it. So the first risk is not only the result. The first risk is acceptance of the result. Peru can look stable economically and fragile in the political manner. Keiko Fujimori is pro-market. Her opponent, Roberto Sanchez, favors greater state control. The campaign is all being fought through risk language. Fujimori has warned that Peru should not go backwards or live through what Bolivia is now facing. This is not just campaign rhetoric, it shows how the election is being framed around fear of instability, economic decline, and weak authority. The steep level of insecurity in Peru raises the stakes. Crime, extortion, illegal mining, weak enforcement, and public fear, not something that's really new, are persistent challenges to administrations in Lima. A tough-on-crime stance might tip the election in Fujimori's favor. So Peru's Sunday vote is a test for investors to see if pro-market Fujimori or pro-interventionist Sanchez wins and whether the next government can restore authority without damaging the economic stability that still gives Peru resilience. Signal number 2. Colombia's Accusations Commission colors the June 21st runoff. Colombia's signal is not only electoral, it's also institutional. The country is heading toward a June 21st presidential runoff between right-wing candidate Alvarado de la Espriella and leftist Senator Ivan Cepeda. Will Colombia continue to its path of Cuba Light by embracing the hand-picked Cepeda by current leftist Presidente Petro? Or will Colombia swing back rightward with De La Espriella, who led the first round vote with 43.7% versus Cepeda, who finished with nearly 41%? Colombia is in the grips of a tense runoff for the future direction of the country. But the Accusations Commission this week added more fuel to the election fire. The commission is weighing whether Presidente Gustavo Petro, the current president, should be called in for questioning over alleged irregularities in his 2022 presidential campaign financing, an issue that has dogged his chaotic tenure at Casa Nariño. Colombian reports say the commission is divided. 2 representatives support calling Petro to question. Another position seeks to close the process. Petro has not been found guilty, but yet persistent rumors including the involvement of his own son, have been a feature of his topsy-turvy tenure in Bogota over the last 4 years. The timing and political effect of the commission is already real. Cepeda is running from Petro's governing camp. That means the commission's work now colors the runoff. The vote becomes more than De La Espriella versus Cepeda. It becomes a judgment on Petro's legacy, his coalition, and the credibility of his governing project. For the opposition, the track is simple: end the Petra cycle. For the left, the task is harder: defend continuity while carrying an unsolved campaign finance controversy. That is the business intelligence signal. Legal procedure now becoming campaign ammunition. For investors and companies, the risk is not sudden institutional collapse. Colombia still has functioning institutions. The risk is a rolling legitimacy fight that weakens policy clarity during the transition. That matters because the next president will inherit unsolved questions on security, energy, mining, fiscal pressure, and relations with the U.S. Colombia's June 21st runoff is now colored by the Accusations Commission. And, it must be noted, Presidente Petro's resistance to accept the results from the first round of voting. The risk signal is institutional, legal pressure, campaign politics, and voter trust are on the line. And finally, signal number 3, the Andes show the new political map. Peru and Colombia point to a broader regional pattern. Stark choices confront the voters of Peru and Colombia. The sharp divide now runs through security, institutional trust, corruption claims, economic opportunity, and the question of whether governments can turn political competition into governable authority. Peru shows one version of the problem. A country can have decent macroeconomic fundamentals and still face serious legitimacy and security risk. Colombia shows another. A country can have functioning institutions and still face enough political confrontation to weaken policy clarity. That matters for Latin America because the region already needs stronger productivity, higher quality investment, and more reliable institutions. But those goals become harder when elections turn into legitimacy battles and legal processes into campaign weapons. Latin America has the assets. Peru has mineral and macroeconomic resilience. Colombia has market scale and strategic geography. But those assets are not enough. The premium question is whether the political systems can convert those assets into confidence, political stability, policy continuity, and outcomes that are attractive to investors. Voters in Peru this Sunday, June 7th, and in Colombia 2 weeks later, face the proverbial fork in the road between the extremes of the left and the right. The two countries have to decide, but muddling through another presidential term is just too costly for them, and investors watch him closely from abroad. Here is the weekend bottom line. Before Monday morning, watch these 3 things. In Peru, watch the margin and see whether the loser accepts the result. In Colombia, watch whether the Petra campaign finance problem becomes a sharper campaign issue before June 21st. Across the region, watch whether political systems can produce authority that markets and citizens trust. Thanks for being with me today. Latin America Risk Sentinel at LatinAmericaRiskSentinel.com helps you turn risk into opportunity. Be sure to start your day with the Morning Latam Signal email for the one big story you cannot afford to miss. Simply visit bit.ly/daily and the letter B to get started today. I'm Win Trivetta II, your Latin America Regional Specialist.